Hey, it's the latest episode of The Ugly Truth. Thank you so much for downloading our show. Today we are talking about how we are definitely not morning people, and we have a really nice discussion about mental health. This and our ugly and awkward moments of the week. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the show.
It's another uncensored look at the world around you from sisters who will say just about anything to anyone at any time. It's the Uggs. Jamie.
Sorry, I was slow. I missed you. I didn't have sex.
Paula.
Say it again, old man. Say it again.
Uncensored as always, it's time for the Ugly Truth.
Welcome to the Ugly Truth. This is episode 482. Hello?
Yeah, did you not hear me?
I didn't, but that's okay. That happened before, where you would cut out because your pitch is so high.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Although our listeners heard it, so that's all that matters. Anyway,
Right.
Welcome to the Ugly Truth. Okay, so we're gonna talk. This might be a weird show. I'm not sure. So much weird shit's been going on. We have a puppy. And she's a little husky puppy. And she's not little.
Is she still considered a puppy now?
Oh, yeah. She's only 7, almost 8 months old. So she's still little. And so anyway, as she's growing older, she has an endless supply of energy. And so she wakes up. Well, I mean, she's a puppy, of course. And our other husky, Bodega, is 12. And although he's very strong and energetic, he isn't waking up at dawn to wrestle. But she is. So she wakes up about almost 6:30 on the dot. She's like a baby. She has a schedule of when she wants to play, sleep, blah, blah, blah. 6:30 on the dot, she wakes up and she's ready to rock and roll. So she drinks her water, has a little bit to eat, goes pee, and then she starts attacking Bodega to play. And Bodega is pissed. He's like, I am an old man. I want to sleep. Leave me alone. And then suddenly they're fighting. And the problem is it's 6:30 in the morning and we're surrounded by 4 homes very close in proximity. They hear everything because huskies are very loud. And
yeah, they're talkative.
She's silent. He, however, is very loud. And so,
He's like,
oh God, it's the worst. So the other day I said, here's the thing. She needs to be walked in the morning. We need to get her out of the house. She needs to be walked so we can burn off some of this energy. And when she gets back, she won't be so rough and tumble. And she'll let the dogs rest for a moment before sun rises.
Have you thought about, I'm just curious, have you thought about getting another one? I know that sounds ridiculous.
Paula, yes, I have. I absolutely
Because I'm just like, maybe you should have gotten 2 at the same time.
I swear to God, first of all, we got her because I thought Sunny was dying. And I was wrong.
I know, but even so, I mean, Bodega's old now that you mentioned. 12 is not young.
I mean, based on just average statistics, Bodega will probably be around for another 2 years. Sunny is living beyond his lifespan right now.
Yeah, really. Sonny's like Benjamin Button.
He really is. The dog he's got 8 teeth. And yet he still eats and plays. I mean, he tries to play with her all the time.
You should start calling him Queen Elizabeth.
It's insane. Yes. He absolutely is queen. He's going to be the longest reigning dog in the house. So anyway, it's understood that she's my dog.
Okay.
Except she doesn't like me very much, which is hilarious. She loves Daryl. She's in love with Daryl, but she's not a fan of me.
Because Daryl's the fun one. You're the mom.
I'm the one that cleans her ears, makes her go to the vet,
It's very typical. Yeah, it's just like babies.
It is.
It's like, Dad's home. Oh my God. And you're just sitting there all disheveled and your hair's a mess and sweaty and you're just like, welcome home.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I told him, I said, you know what? I have to get up. I go, the problem is that I legitimately cannot function much in the that early in the morning, but I have to just make myself do it. So I'm like, all right, I'm resolved. So she wakes up 6:30 on the dot. Daryl's already downstairs working. And I'm like, that's it. I'm getting up. So I put on, workout clothes. I go downstairs. I am not that awake. I lure her in, I get her stuff on, and we walk out the door. And I walk her all the way to Mackenzie's Cafe. It's about a mile away. And we walk back. And I am probably getting ready to enter the Old Town area. I'm going to start passing, businesses and stuff in the park and everything. And all of a sudden, I go, is this real? Am I dreaming? Am I really doing this? It's 6:40 in the morning. I've never done this. I feel like I'm not truly awake and like maybe I'm dreaming this. And then I almost fell. And I went, okay, yeah, no. This is really happening.
Do you ever have that moment where your legs are walking so fast, you're just like, I don't even know if I'm moving these. Who's moving my legs?
I felt so weird. And I was like, okay, I thought maybe I was being a bit of a baby saying that I wasn't a morning person. But no, I'm legitimately not functioning.
I'm not a morning person.
I'm not. And my legs are tired. My eyes are watering. It's kind of chilly. And the dog is running around trying to chase chickens as they're waking up from their slumber. And I said, all right. So we get to the cafe. Kenzie sees me in the window. We say hi to each other and we walk back. I walk in the door. I never woke up. I had coffee. I chilled. And I told Daryl, I said, I feel like I've been ill for a really long time and I need to go to sleep. I'm pretty sure I'm going to start having sour burps, which is when you're so tired and stressed that you just start getting sick. I couldn't even sleep. It was the weirdest day ever.
When I was 15, my first job was at a coffee shop. And, well, like not a coffee shop, but like it was the equivalent of a Starbucks before they came out.
Wasn't it Java City?
It was Java City.
I loved that place.
I had to be there at 5 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays.
Oh my God.
And when I would walk in there, the baker had been baking all night. So it's just a waft of baked goods and it was hot. And when I get up too early, I get nauseous.
Oh, yeah, so definitely.
When I would walk in there, I'd be like, because it smelled like pastry and hot.
And some people would find that enticing, and you're just like, I got to get out of here.
Well, there's some people that, it's just like the manager, she'd be sprinting around getting, the cash roll and all the registers. And I'm just like,
I know.
And she's like, why don't you set up all the chairs? I'm like, oh, good, manual labor.
I know. It's terrible. So finally we get home, and I'm like, oh, that was a mistake. So I let her back outside, didn't do a damn thing. She just started attacking them again to play. And I was like, oh, my God.
Are you kidding me?
No. It was a mile, which is what we generally do. We take them to a park and we walk them a mile, and then we put them in a dog park and let them run around.
Maybe you should just go adopt like a young mutt that, it's like $75 and we'll just be happy to be adopted.
I actually told Daryl that. I said, if one of these older dogs dies, we have to get another one. This is insane. I can't believe I'm thinking about it, but I was with you. I was like, we need to get another one because this dog, I mean, and here's the thing. It wasn't that long ago, Bodega was a puppy. He was never this rambunctious. She's insane, and it's fine, but she doesn't have any true playmates at home. When we take her to the dog park, she plays with all the other dogs. And the problem, though, is that she is not neutered or spayed.
Why not?
Well, the new research indicates that bigger dogs, they need to go through a heat before they get neutered or spayed because it causes hip dysplasia. It's not genetic like they thought.
Like, I don't care. Just do it. We'll deal with the hips.
Yeah, they do it really young. And they're saying now that to spay and neuter dogs before they hit a heat, at least for females, I don't know about males, is that it is, or until they're mature, till their little hips and their growth plates are in, that it causes hip dysplasia.
Or can cause.
They think it's the number one reason. They don't think it's genetic. They really don't.
Yeah, but I mean, think about how many animals have done it. I mean, do all of those animals really have hip dysplasia?
No. No, they don't. It's not a guarantee they'll get it. They're just saying.
That's what I'm saying. It can cause. And I'm just like, yeah, but you know what? So can everything cause cancer. So, yeah. I mean, really, yeah. I'm not sure I'm on board with that. Like Victor said, he read an article that today, he's like, I read an article that people who refuse to wear masks are either narcissists or psychopaths. I'm like, you know what? Anybody can be a narcissist or psychopath. I'm like, some people are just stupid.
Some people are just assholes.
I'm like, some people just aren't even smart. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I disagree with that because I've seen some of the people who refuse to wear masks. I'm like, they're not smart enough to be psychopaths or narcissists. They're just dumb.
I would agree.
So,
well, they're just hysterical. Although it's funny when things like that happen where people are like screaming at people and making scenes about it or urinating in stores or whatever. And it's
I know. I read that. I'm just like, a psychopath or a narcissist
would never
humiliate themselves enough to just drop trow and urinate in a Verizon store.
It's so strange, the choice to behave like that. Like, were you always this way, or are you emboldened?
Were you raised by wolves? Really, sticks and berries?
I'm a bit concerned. Like, I saw a video the other day of a gentleman who was clearly not right. and he was at a park, and there was a group of a family, social distancing by themselves. He walked right up to them and told them to go back to their own fucking country, and that they were sheeple for wearing masks, and that I bet their food is disgusting. I mean, he was out of his fucking mind.
You know what? That's just the thing, though, is that I hope, maybe there aren't stories about that, but I hope that there's the wrong family that these people walk up to, and one of them has a fucking baseball bat, and they just start chasing that old man and start swinging at him. And it's just like, what, you want me to go where? What? Say it again, old man. Say it again. What, you want to taste my food? Like a plate of food in one hand, a baseball bat in the other, knock his ass down, and then shove the fucking food in his face.
Down his throat.
Well, you know, that'd be our family.
Well, of course. Well, I'd get up immediately and start physically.
Well, we would all. Well, actually, all of us girls, at least, you know. The men would be like, what's going on? You know, they'd be the guys at the store. What? Hands in the air.
You sent me to the store.
Put your fucking hands down, you pussies. Let us take care of it.
In our situation, it would be like, you made me go to the store to buy paper towels, and now I come back and there's police? What did you do?
I know.
I'd be like, what did I do?
We didn't do anything. You put that baseball bat in the bushes, right? Yeah.
I believe that I defended our family's honor is what I was doing.
We're talking to the police with our masks on. They're a little tattered and have blood on it, but you know.
Well, anyway, this video of this dude saying all these terrible things to this family, and a couple of the men did get up and start grabbing him by the arm, like, get the fuck out of here. And they were doing the thing that we do, that real silent, like, you need to leave right now. Like, the screaming, you're all right, but if we get quiet, you're in trouble. They were doing that, and they were grabbing him by the arm, and the guy wasn't fighting him. And I was like, oh shit, what's going down? And he got a little concerned. And so
the old man?
Yeah, well, he wasn't old. He was probably in his late 40s. But when I saw the video, and he was wearing swim trunks, like long swim trunks, and a pink button-up collared shirt rolled up, and he had significant sweat stains under his pits. I went, well, I don't know where this fella's been, but he looks like he just rolled off someone's boat and is coming down from some significant drinking. I mean,
you look a little nervous, sir. You really want to stand by that comment?
That's so funny. Oh, anyway, so yeah, I've officially declared I am no longer able to do the 6 o'clock morning walks. I will not do it. I will just take her to the dog park regularly, and that's just, or buy another goddamn dog, which I really don't want to do.
Just start looking for a medium-sized mutt on like the Sac City, because you know they'll euthanize those things in like 3 weeks if you don't adopt one.
Okay, so speaking of shelters, you and I had I don't think we talked about it on the show, but
no, we didn't.
The goal was to get Olivia a new kitten because you had lost your cat earlier this year, late last year, and you were like, it's time to get a new baby in the house. It'll be exciting. It's a great time. Everyone's home. And so you went through the arduous process, which you absolutely hated.
Well, right. So what had happened was I got emailed about one of the cats I had originally emailed on right before her birthday, and it was available. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm just like, well, I guess. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I just kind of feel like it's bad timing. And Victor's like, no, we should do it. I'm like, all right. I'm like, let's fill out the stuff and we'll go adopt it. And so they're like, if you can come on Tuesday, you can get him right then. He's getting neutered that day. And I'm just like, you're not even going to keep him overnight or anything like that. And they're like, no, he'll get neutered in the morning. He'll be ready to go by the evening. And I'm like, okay. And so I wasn't crazy about that, but I'm like, well, I guess we'll just, keep an eye on him. I mean, neutering's not horrible, but it's not fantastic.
Yeah.
And so she's like, it's $75 and, with shots, neutering, and the adoption fee. And I'm like, well, that's not bad.
Right.
And so we were supposed to meet him at 5. What was it, like 3:30? 3 o'clock, I think, they called. And it was the veterinarian. And she's like, so I did the neutering today, and we ran into a little snag. And I'm like,
oh, my God.
I'm like, oh, God, what? And
it's definitely your dog or cat then.
Yeah, right. She's like, well, when we were doing the neuter, she's like, we were able to locate the left scrotal or whatever it's called, the testy.
The testicle.
Yeah, and she says, but we weren't able to readily identify the right testy. And so she says, so we had, sometimes they don't drop right away when they're this young. And the cat was like 10 weeks old. So I'm just like, well, it's not that young. I mean, it's, it's not like it's 5 weeks old or something. Sure. And so she says, so we had to make a second incision near its stomach to see if we could go and fish around for it. Because sometimes it might still be ascending or ascensioned up, like where they're supposed to, where they come down to drop.
Okay.
And she says, we fished around. We didn't see anything. She says, I did find a mass.
Oh, my God.
She says, I think it's a lymph node, but it could have been the testicle. So she says, I've sent it off to pathology to have them just verify if it's the testicle or if it's a lymph node.
I would be like, you know what? I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to say.
Well, the problem was I was talking to you. We were literally recording.
We were trying to. Yeah, because there was a vortex of hell going on.
Oh, my
God.
That day. We were having the worst connection.
Yes.
Like every 5 seconds, we're like, hello, what? Huh?
It was brutal. Yes.
And so I was trying to get this information. And then she's like, I'm sending out that to pathology. She says, what we'll do is we'll set you up with the 3-month appointment. We'll bring them back. If we can like palpitate, the other testicle, then we'll remove it. She says, if we can't, she's like, sometimes they just don't have one. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. And so I hung up. And then I was talking to you and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, why would the cat have a mass, but she's not sure it's a testicle?
Right.
Like, what would the mass be? And so I was like thinking it through and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So I called Victor into the room and I'm like, okay, so I explained to him everything that's going on. I'm like, can you call them and find out what this mass is? Because I said, I'm not crazy about this 10-week-old kitten having a mass that they're not sure it's a testicle.
No.
I said, I'm not thinking it's cancer or anything like that, but I'm like, what is the mass that they think could
what if it's
be
sick or something?
That's what I said. Well, what is this mass that they think could potentially be the size of a testicle?
Yeah.
And so he calls them. He comes back. She says she's positive it's not cancer. I'm like, why is she positive it's not cancer? She says it would be extremely rare. And I'm like, but we won't know until it comes back from pathology. And we've already had the cat 3 days. And Olivia's like, hooked on it.
And you haven't even met it yet.
And then I said, and second of all, he says, she's like, it's either the testicle or a lymph node. I'm like, why does the cat have a lymph node the size of a testicle? I said, is it sick? I'm like, lymph nodes are what strains illness and viruses and things like that. And I said, I don't know, Victor. I'm like, I don't think this is our cat. And he's like, why? He's like, she said it was fine. I'm like, no, it's not fine.
Clearly it's not fine. It's had surgery.
I'm like, it's not normal. He says it's perfectly normal for them to have lymph nodes. I said, everybody has lymph nodes. It's not perfectly normal to have a lymph node the size of a testicle in a 10-week-old kitten.
Right.
And so I'm just like, I feel like she's selling us on, a lemon cat.
A defective cat, because they know if they don't give it to you, they're going to have to put it down.
And I said, here's the other thing, too, is okay, let's say the mass is nothing. And then this other testicle
drops.
It drops. I said, we still have 3 months to deal with this hormonal testicle with this male cat. I said, what if it turns into like a tomcat or starts spraying or pissing everywhere?
What if it's feral? What if it ends up being feral because it was in a feral litter and now it's like this fucked up crazy animal?
Well, it had been fostered. I said, but what if it becomes a little asshole because it's got all these hormones? I said, now you're talking what? I said, it's 10 weeks old. You add another 12 weeks. I'm like, you're talking about a 22-week-old cat with a testicle. I said, I'm like, it's not even a kitten anymore. I'm like, it's like a tomcat.
It's like a 60-year-old man that isn't fixed.
Spraying and peeing and scratching everyone and be a little shithead.
Yeah, you don't want that.
And I said, what if it doesn't descend? I said that you've got this little ball of hormones somewhere stuck in its body. They're going to have to go dig that thing out.
Oh, forget it. I'm already over it. After she said mass, I would have been like, you know what? That's enough. I'm really sorry, but we're going to walk away from this situation immediately.
And then I told him, and then she said, they'll have us come back for an appointment on the shelter. I said, but does that mean the surgery's on the shelter or they're just going to have the appointment on the shelter? Maybe we have to pay for this surgery.
Oh, my God.
And so I said, Victor, I'm like, this is not our cat. I said, I'm not doing this. And
Good.
he was all disappointed. He's like, well, Ryan's really disappointed. I'm like, I will talk to Ryan then. So once I explained everything to Ryan, he's like, that makes perfect sense to me. And so I just looked at Victor. I'm like,
shock.
Because Victor, he's like a kid. He just gets so disappointed. I'm like, well, I'm sorry you're disappointed.
Life is full of disappointments, children. I hate to tell you.
I'm just like, you know what? I will be the asshole. I will take responsibility for, not bringing in this bum cat that everyone's going to attach to and it probably is going to die in, 4 weeks. Or start spraying the walls and scratching the dogs.
Do you really want yet another high maintenance creature?
That's what I said. I'm like, Ryan, I can't handle another Toby.
No.
I just can't.
Bo is like a newborn.
He's like Bambi on ice.
Oh God, it's insane.
And I said, plus, I'm like, the idea is to get something that Olivia can cuddle with, not something that's going to spray her in the face and claw her cheek off.
Yeah, you really need to just wait. Another one will come up, promise.
That's what I said. I'm like, there are a million kittens out there. I said, we don't need to get the one bald, jerk that might have cancer.
You made the right call. I would have done the same thing, in all honesty. I never would have. I would have, you always have that tinge of guilt because, you're quote unquote rescuing something. But the reality is that somebody who has a lot more time and money will find that cat adorable and deal with it. Anyway, speaking of broken toys, although a psychiatrist told me not to call people that, Kanye West is having a significant bipolar episode.
Yes.
Or manic depressive, however you want to label it.
It's bipolar. But manic depressive's the old way, but
he is struggling. I can't obviously diagnose him, but my guess is he suffers from bipolar 1, which is the more severe.
Kim said bipolar, so I don't. That's what it is.
I have a family member who suffers from bipolar 2, which is a little different, and because now they're starting to classify things very, very specifically. Bipolar 1 is severe, and it seems to me that Kanye is suffering from a manic episode, right? A manic episode currently. I don't know. I haven't been following his Twitter for a couple of days, but he definitely is going through something.
I've followed him.
What I hate about the situation is this. The Kardashian, Kim, is getting a shit ton of crap about not doing anything about it.
Right.
And I don't know what your opinion is on it, but in my opinion is this. As someone who has an adult child who suffers from mental health issues, legally, you can't do nothing unless you want to go significantly severe, which I would not do unless they were harming me or myself or themselves to a degree. They have the right to not be treated and suffer those consequences. And Kim can't do anything. She can summon a doctor to go, but if he tells them to fuck off, there's nothing that doctor can do.
Well, so I've kind of been following him from the onset, where it was many years ago. She was in New York, and this is when he was originally hospitalized.
Yes.
And I want to say diagnosed. He was at the house with, I think, like a gym trainer and his manager, and he kind of lost it. And I believe he pulled a knife on the gym trainer.
Yes.
And they called 911. Somehow they were able to call 911 finally, and they were able to coax him to go into the ambulance.
Right.
And from there, I think they were able to get in touch with Kim. But regardless, without her permission or not, I think they were just letting her know they were putting him on a 5150.
Right.
And the reason being is because he was
threatening.
Well, basically, the 5150 is either they're a harm to themselves or to someone else.
Exactly.
That's what happened with that. And that's when he, was saying he was so upset with the doctors because he says, when you're, he went on an interview and I just hated him for this. He says, the stigma is that, you have no control over yourself. Doctors try and tell you what to do. They wouldn't let me see my friends.
Right.
They, and he was telling it from his perspective. But the problem is that at the time he acknowledged he refuses medication.
Right.
Because he says his highs, he has such clarity, such creative wheels, basically, that he refuses to give that up. And so he will deal with the lows.
Well, what was interesting is I noticed that his friends came to hang out with him at like a well check. I mean, Chappelle was there, a couple of other men that I'm not familiar with were there, and they were kind of like babysitting him, probably just to ensure that he doesn't say or do anything to hurt him. Well, do physically anything to hurt himself. I think that's the biggest concern right now is him turning into something really ugly. What I'm really hating is the general pop and fans really condoning this and laughing at it and making memes and making fun of him. And I'm just like, you fools. This shows you how uneducated a large swath of this country is when it comes to mental health. You should not be. This is no laughing matter. And I also noticed that his mother died on July 12th. Many, many years ago. And he had a breakdown when his mother died, like a significant mental health breakdown. And it seems not at all ironic that he's having some kind of issue now. It's been a couple of weeks and it hasn't gone away. I know somebody who is bipolar too. And she said that the enticing thing is to get off medications because when you are manic, it is like you couldn't be more positive. Everything's clean and organized and you're excited and you have all this energy and you work out and you eat right and you do all these things. The problem is when the depression comes, you want to die. And so it's not worth the trade-off. Eventually you grow up and realize it's not worth it and you just take an even keel. And it's a horrible thing. I mean, I can't imagine what that must be like to be held prisoner in your own mind.
If you haven't had the opportunity, you should really read the statement Kim released. I mean, I don't traditionally have a lot of respect for her.
I know.
But what she wrote, and I don't even know if she wrote it. Maybe she had someone help her. But it's very insightful.
I think she wrote it.
The way she wrote it is, one, she wanted people to understand that she has no control over him.
Right.
Because he's an adult.
Right.
Two, he is choosing purposely not to medicate himself. And so that is a huge issue as far as how his behavior, plays out in the public. And also, he is a public figure.
Very much
so.
so.
Because of who he is. And so this just broadcasts to the world, how this illness is displayed, but it's not necessarily, I guess, how it has to be, I guess.
Sure.
And that is part of the stigma, is that, this is not necessarily how this has to look like.
Yeah.
The other part, too, is that, she did ask for empathy and all that stuff, but I think, I feel bad for her because I feel like her hands are getting very tied because whether or not she wants to stay with him is kind of becoming a moot point because she's going to have to protect her children.
She has children, and I thought that, and they were with him for a very long time this summer.
And not just that, but I mean, like that rally, what he was saying, I mean, that's information no one should have to.
I know.
Should have to hear. I mean, that can't be erased. And so his daughter is going to know at one point. And that's going to be a really tough conversation to have with your daughter.
Well, especially if he chooses to stay unmedicated. But my biggest concern is this. Whether I like his creativity or what he says or puts out there, however polarizing he is, the older you get and the sicker you will get. And that's the scary part for me is I don't want him to ever do anything that would cause such irreparable harm to himself or their family that we have to talk. I don't want to talk about it. I want him to figure it out. But I don't know what that is. But when you are that wealthy and that powerful, you can surround yourself with yes men your whole fucking life. And it's really unfortunate. And I do hope that they are able to weather the storm. I'm not a big fan of divorce, as you know. And although they may not be my favorite couple, they have children and a family. And and here's a perfect example of how things like mental health doesn't give a shit how rich you are.
Right.
They don't care. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. And so it's not interesting. It's sad. And I hope there's a resolution that's not negative, but I'm not hopeful.
And for people who think that, well, he's ill, maybe he's not capable of making healthy choices. It's just like, that's not how mental health works.
No.
I mean, he's not high and low constantly.
No.
There are moments where he's
fine.
just like, when he's done with this low, there is a midpoint that they all reach.
Yes.
In fact, they're at midpoint for a lot of the time.
Right.
And it's during that time they get to reflect on what's happened. And he's going to reflect on what's happened. And he's going to have to make that choice where he's just like, do I want to keep, this destruction, this path of destruction, just for the sake of being, a successful artist in fashion and rap and, whatever else it is that the adventures that he does? Or do I want to keep destroying my children's, reputation and lives for the long term? And, my marriage or not, I don't know how he feels about that because he also said, I've been trying to divorce Kim for 2 years, so I don't know what that means. But, even if their marriage doesn't work out, he still has children that he's got to think about. And
he does love them very much.
But it kind of feels like, ever since he kind of became diagnosed and had his first incident, he continues to choose the creative side so that way he can keep being successful. And it's really becoming at the detriment of the people that are important to him, that should be important to him.
Well, on a personal level, the reason I think that we're so aware is that our father is bipolar. and he's unmedicated, and he chooses unmedicated. He has zero relationship with his children for that and many other reasons. Our mother has told me stories about his highs and lows. She's not very educated. She was not educated. Nobody talked about bipolar back in the 60s and 70s. Nobody. There was no. You were just either crazy or depressed. There was no diagnoses that would indicate what this is, especially for men back then. But our parents struggled through that until they ultimately divorced. But he would leave for weeks and weeks at a time and start a new life with another woman. And our mom would call hospitals, highway patrol, police, trying to find him. The most significant one is he left and went to LA for like a month, started a whole new life, and then ultimately finished his episode and came home. I mean, that's the kind of shit that Kanye does. I mean, it's the same thing. Now he's older, and of course, when he's having his non-episodes, whether it's a high or a low, he's predominantly in a depressive state. And, although he's too narcissistic to ever kill himself, but he does say that he wishes he was dead a lot. He just absolutely refuses to get medicated. Absolutely refuses it.
Well, let's talk about why would someone not want to be medicated? And I think he probably was for a brief period of time. But that's just the thing is when you're medicated, it's a very numbing feeling.
It is.
You're not overly hyped. You're not overly underly sad.
Nope.
You don't really feel much of anything.
Yeah, it is it can be a hollow feeling.
And there are kind of intensive sexual side effects.
Oh, for sure.
That for men, that is a very big deal.
Yes.
That it can be very difficult for men to achieve orgasm. And I don't understand because I'm not a guy.
Right.
But for men, I think that's a huge, huge problem.
I think their virility is a huge part of and it's not even a egotistical thing. I think it's just because biology that not to be able to perform sexually is significant. I mean, I can't,
And they can't even ejaculate just from masturbating.
I know.
I mean, can you imagine like the frustration from that? Just like I can't even make myself, because most guys can bust one out in like 30 seconds if they wanted
need to. Yeah.
But so if they can't do that, then the thought of not even being able to like do that with a woman, that's just a total ego blow. And
Weird.
So
yeah, right.
That's a lot of the reason why they're just like, why am I even taking this? I feel nothing.
Yeah.
So they don't even see it as a benefit because they're just looking at like how they were before. They're like, I wasn't that bad. They rationalize.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and so true. I can see why he's saying like, I'd much rather be this way than how I was before, than on medication.
Yeah, it's true. It's a horrific thing to contend with. I don't envy anyone who has something that severe, man or woman. It's significant. And so anyway, with that being said, those are our thoughts on it. And personally, we know exactly what that family's going through. And
the person with the illness, they're definitely not the only one that suffers.
Oh,
that's
no.
the thing about something like this is that it affects just about everyone they touch.
It does. Everyone. It's true. Okay. More health news really quick, and then we gosh, we got to get going. Zappos has decided to start selling single shoes.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Zappos has a program now where you can buy just one shoe, or you can buy shoes of different sizes. So it's like if you have a size 7 on your right and then a size 9 on your left, you can do that.
Why the hell would that happen to your feet?
People are, what if you have like one of those little withered little feet, but you have a normal size leg? You know what I mean? So there's that. And then if you are, if you only have one limb, now you don't have to buy 2 pairs of shoes. You can just buy one shoe.
Do you get like half off or?
Yes. Yes, you do. I know you want to make a pun.
No, I'm just saying like literally like if the shoes are $40, do you only pay $20?
Yes.
Hey, that's amazing.
It is. And so right now it's a test thing, but they've been getting requests for years to sell single shoes or to be able to mix and match. Apparently there was a trend back in the late 90s of kids wearing 2 different colored shoes, like Punky Brewster or something. I don't remember that being very popular, but perhaps it was.
I remember Okay, I remember like wearing different colored laces, but I don't remember the shoe. I thought she did that because she was poor.
Well, apparently that was popular back then. So anyway, it's
cool to be poor. Yay!
Okay. Yeah, real cool. Love the swamp cooler when it's 105 out. It's so nice. Gross. Gag.
And she was raised by like an 80-year-old man. Like, who didn't find that creepy at the time? Jesus.
I know. Isn't that strange how that show was so popular? Some man who wasn't even her relative.
I don't even think he was married or had children of his own. But here, let's put her with a creepy old man.
Who from England. Who lives
he was English.
Who lives in a mausoleum type home with books everywhere.
Are you even from this country? God.
How did that happen?
What kind of fucking adoption or foster agency did they find?
Honestly. I mean, looking back, it's like, that is something that did not...
Henry.
That did not stand the test of time. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, really. They try and put... So we've got an idea for a show. We've got a 75-year-old man from England. He adopts a 7-year-old girl who's an orphan, and then they live together in a one-bedroom apartment. What?
Yeah, that's exciting.
Wait, I thought we just did a documentary on Jeffrey Epstein.
God. Yeah, that did not stand the test of time.
That show was on for a long time.
It was, in fact, there was a reboot with Soily Moon Frye as the mom. I don't know where that ended up going. I mean, I think there was one episode. All I remember about
Imagine that one. There's like, there was really no interest.
Yeah.
Really. But everyone's far more interested about the English old man and the young girl.
So a 40-year-old woman adopts a bunch of small boys. So let's just reverse it. It'll be great. It's like,
got it bad. I'm hot for teacher.
I'm not saying it's not a bad idea.
She had massive boobs when she got older. I think actually that's part of the reason why they had to end the show. They couldn't hide her tits.
Well, she actually had a boob reduction.
Yeah, but not till later.
I don't think it did any good. Those things can grow back,
I know.
Oh, God, what a nightmare. Can you imagine?
Like cherry tomatoes.
Can you imagine getting a boob reduction going, oh, finally I can breathe and I can stand straight and it's no big deal. And then all of a sudden you wake up one morning, you're all, bloop, bloop. You're like,
yeah, really? Maybe it's just PMS. I don't know.
I'm retaining a lot of water today. Okay, we should do our ugly and awkward moments of the week.
I think it's because I feel bad for Bo. His back legs are just not working that well these days.
No.
I always feel bad, like when it's shot time to do his insulin, because he gets poked twice a day. And then sometimes we have to test his glucose because if he's acting like super tired or something like that, I'm just like, is his sugars too high?
Right.
So we have like the little pokey meter where you poke his blood or poke his skin, and then you put the blood on the little strip, and then the glucose meter tells you what it's at.
Right.
So sometimes he can get poked up to like 5 times a day.
Oh my God.
I always feel guilty. And so
I would.
Whenever I'm getting their food together, I try and make it like as happy as possible. Like I told you, I did the maniac dance the other day when I was giving them their food. Most of the time I'm alone when I'm doing these things. And so I was in the kitchen. Victor was in the living room playing on his phone, watching TV. And so I'm always doing something, so most people don't pay attention to me in the house.
Most interesting person in the room,
I usually am. And so I said to Bo, he was sitting there looking at me, and I'm like, hey, mister, guess what I had for breakfast? Beans. And then, this is from Billy Madison. And then I'm like, I played the teacher. I'm all, Scotty, Bo likes beans. And so then I was like stirring his food. And well, you like beans, don't you, Bo? And then I was like looking up, and then Victor's kind of looked at, and he was staring at me, and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, nothing! Look away! Don't look at me! So, like, I don't know if you're ever doing something, and then like you look up and Daryl's staring at you like, what are you doing?
No.
Probably not. You don't do the things that I do.
No. I do them in the shower where no one can see. Okay, well, we're really quick because we were truly running out of time, but we do need to talk about Alone. And Daryl, at this point, he's like, do you guys just need to have the little carnival become the Alone?
We should do a TLC for Alone, yes.
Okay, fine, we will. Okay, so my awkward moment is, so I know you may or may not be aware that there is a comet that is visible to the naked eye right now. And the next time it will be visible to the naked eye on Earth is like 6,800 years from now. So like never for us. So
I was just like, well, I guess I'll just have to wait.
I know. So Daryl said, he goes, well, I guess we'll just have to come back in 6,800 years. I'm like, oh, yes, 4 times the amount of time that humans have been on the Earth. I'm sure we'll be here.
We'll just get on the pods and, put ourselves into cryogenic sleep.
Yeah.
And let someone wait. You know what? Daryl would be like in the movie Passengers. If he accidentally woke up, he would wake you up just so you would have to live with him.
Dude.
And you're like, God damn it!
I'd be like, are you
let me live the rest of my life in an island?
He's like, I'm sorry. I was lonely. I missed you. I needed to have sex.
You'd look backwards and you'd see your air tube and be like, psh. And you're like, you unplugged me, didn't you?
I'm sorry. Totally would. So
You're not sorry.
I know. Anyway, so it's called the Neo comet. And so
yeah,
I really wanted to see this comet. And so last night was supposed to be the brightest it would be. And it's really cool because the positioning it was directly below the Big Dipper. So it would be really easy to find. And so we decided to drive up to Apple Hill because you need to be away from the light pollution. And so we had to go up as high as we could, and we found a great spot and we saw it. And it is not, I mean, if you have binoculars, you probably really saw it well, but from the naked eye, you could see the big blanket trail of the comet. It was beautiful. And I loved it. And we were pulled over on the side of this desolate road in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of apple orchards. And it was creepy as fuck. But I don't like things like that, personally. I just get kind of creeped out. I expect some weird guy to come out with his rifle or some crazy coyote, which we totally heard coyotes. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm not down with this at all. I'm like, okay, it's really pretty. We hung out for like, an hour or so. And I said, let's go. I really want to get home. So I'm already creeped out. I want the windows rolled up because I'm afraid of whatever. And I told Daryl, I said,
you were in Camino, for God's sakes. There's nothing there but like old retired people.
Well, but there's a lot of wildlife. We saw a bobcat on our way home. But I told Daryl, I'm like, this situation here, the fact that I can't even sit in an armored car in the middle of nowhere indicates exactly how long I would last on that show alone. I would be the fastest tap out in history. It would be like, they're like, this is Jamie, I'm tapping out. And they'd be like, we can still see you.
They're like, we're still on the boat on the way back. Wait, we're just dropping someone else off. Can you wait?
No! I saw bear poo. I'm out of here.
I just built a boat. I'm on my way back.
So we're taking off. And to the left of us is this big field, someone's property. And I swore, I'm like, oh my God, that is the largest creature I've ever seen in the moonlight. And Daryl's like, what? And he stops and he looks. I'm like, I didn't tell. I said, oh, it ran away. It must have been a dog, but I lied.
Was it a scarecrow?
No, it was just a dead tire in the field.
Oh, for God's sakes.
And but I lied to him because I didn't want him to laugh at me, that I was so jumpy and paranoid that I was just like, never mind. It was just a dog, I'm sure. And he goes, oh, it's probably just patrolling its land. I'm like, yep, that was what it was. Anyway, so that's my awkward moment. And now Daryl will hear it when he edits our show that it wasn't.
He's going to know the truth.
It wasn't, in fact, a dog. It was a tire.
You know what? He probably already knows. He's probably like, oh, she saw the tire and thought it was an animal.
I did. And I lied. I said, oh, it was just a dog, I think.
How funny.
But a bat did buzz me. And I was done with it.
It touched me. It's been touching you for 20 years and never buzzed you before. Not you.
I love that movie. All right. Well, that's all I have. We can talk for so much longer, but anyway.
I know. We'll do a TLC or something.
Yes, we'll do it alone.
We'll do that, and then your assignment is to at least watch 100% Hotter. You know what? If I were you, I wouldn't start with season 1 because it's actually not that good. Start with like season 2.
Okay.
Because season 1 they were working out all the bugs.
Oh yeah.
And so season 2 is better.
Okay. But, gave him a little more of a budget.
Why is the gay guys always so cute? I can't stand that.
That's just nature's way.
You know what, though? It was kind of like, it's actually kind of touching because most of these people, they're a little bit broken. Like, that's why they have like these huge, like, alter egos.
Yeah.
And I actually felt kind of bad because, like, the hairstylist, he was talking to, like, this younger kid who was, like, dressed up. And he said he was, like, bullied in school and stuff like that. And he was gay as well. And it's almost like he took him under his wing and was like trying to mentor him. Because I think he understood, like, he was big in school. So I don't think anyone probably like bullied him as much because he'd probably kick their ass. But I think he understood what it was like, you know, being young and gay. And like, you know, it got kind of emotional between the two of them. And I almost started crying because I was just like,
well, God, really? You, Ice Queen?
You know what? People who are struggling to, you know, make their way through life and, you know, don't like get a fair shake because people are just cruel. That upsets me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're all like that. We're very much champions of the underdogs. I always love it when they do well.
I'm kind of protective of, you know,
people. You are. You're very when I tell you situations in my life that I have under control and I'm just telling you the situations, you're like, who do I have to call? I will take care of this immediately. Do you mind? And you're like, do you mind if I make a phone call? I'm like, I absolutely do mind. It's under control. I got it. And you're like, I will do it, Jamie. I will do it. I'm like, I know you will. I know you will.
When I was in school, I used to like kind of bitch out kids who were picking on other kids.
Oh, I did too.
It bothered me.
And it made me mad.
And I was nobody, but I would just be like, I'm like, what the fuck's your problem? I'm like, leave him alone. I'm just like, what? You're a big ass. I'm like, you're a big man, huh? I'm like, you know what? I'm like, you want to talk to somebody? Talk to me. And they're like, this isn't your business. I'm like, well, it's my fucking business now.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, you got a problem on your hands.
I remember. You know what? I did too. That's so interesting.
And then usually like the kid would be like, you didn't have to do that. I'm like, no, I didn't, but I did. So you know, it's just like. I just didn't care.
No, well, you know what? It's something that like the lack of fear leaves you. Like I remember one time in middle school, it was 7th grade, which is like the worst grade ever. And I remember there was a kid, well, I remember his name. His name was Eugene Seymour, and he was a little overweight. He had acne already. I mean, just the whole shebang. And kids were merciless. And I was bullied in 6th and 7th grade too. But I mean, I don't know what it was, but he was being harassed and bullied a lot. And I remembered like all of a sudden out of it's like, I should have known I was going to be a good mother back then. I was just like, leave him the fuck alone. What is wrong with you, you assholes? I was like out of my mind. And he was so sweet. And he didn't say anything because having a girl stand up for you is probably equally as mortifying.
Probably.
He did have friends, which was nice, but they were all teeny tiny, you know, because you're in middle school. And it was the spring, and we were doing, back then, I'm sure they don't do it anymore, where there was like best looking, prettiest eyes for the yearbook. Yeah. And he walked up to me and he said, I don't even know your name. And I said, oh, and I told him my name. I go, why do you want to know my name? He goes, well, I had to nominate somebody for nicest person. Aww. And I was like, Eugene, that's so sweet. I said, but I'm not that nice. He goes, I don't care. You're nice to me. And I'll never forget that. You know, I looked him up on Facebook a few months ago. He's happily married, no acne, you know, still a big guy, but so what, you know? And I was like, he made it.
Maybe it's just because we didn't like the people getting picked on.
We got bullied at home. Like. Are you kidding?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Anyways, well, on that note, we do-gooders.
Don't pick on anyone, you assholes.
Don't bully anybody, you fucking assholes.
We'll come after you.
Yes, we will.
All right. Go buy some Amazon and some lip and clip. So, or else. No, I'm just kidding.
You rock.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay cool. Get laid in the shade. Keep in touch. And we'll see you on Wednesday. Bye. Bye.
Thanks for listening and sharing the show. See you next time on The Ugly Truth.